All righty. Hey, Barb.
Okay, from the person I spoke to, they should be ready to go. If you just do a nice, probably a 5 or 10 second countdown before beginning.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Away we go. Welcome, everybody. This is the Tuesday, February 2nd meeting of the Public Works Committee. I want to welcome you all. I'm going to take roll and then we'll entertain a motion on Executive Order 71. Councilmember Henderson.
Present.
Councilmember Allen.
Here.
Councilmember Benedict.
Present.
Okay, I saw you. Vice Chair Bradford.
Present.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
You. Councilmember Hall.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurt. Councilmember Hurt. Okay, Councilmember Nash is present. Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember Roten. Okay.
Chair, Councilwoman Gamble is present.
Yes, I'm sorry. I marked you present. Sorry. 7, 8. We have 9 members present currently. I'm going to make a motion pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 71 regarding electronic meetings. I make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council, and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Motion. I have a second. Motion and a second. Who we got monitoring the call from? Mr. Cooper, are you monitoring these meetings tonight?
Hannah Zeitlin is here today.
Oh. Last night, Director Cooper was doing the roll call votes. Is that easier for you, or do you want me to do them?
I'm happy to do whatever you want.
Okay, I'll turn the vote count over to you.
Excellent. Okay. Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
I think we're voting on the, oh, sorry. Allen?
Yes.
Benedict?
Sorry, Ms. Eichmann, what is it that we're voting on right now?
We're voting on the motion.
Okay, aye.
The executive order, yeah.
Sorry. Bradford?
Aye.
Evans? Aye. Gamble?
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Hurt, Nash,
Aye.
O'Connell, Roten,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Ms. Island. Good to see Councilmember Roten joined us. Thank you. I have a consent agenda. I'll go through Resolution RS 2021-734 by Parker and Allen. Extends the provisions of Section 13.32.165E of the Metro Code of Laws relative to sidewalk cafes. Approves Resolution RS 2021-750, Young, Toombs, Murphy, and Nash. Approves Amendment 1 to an agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and Metro Public Works for acceptance of work in connection with the construction of a complete street project on Gallatin Pike from El Toloma Road to Liberty Lane. And I do have a letter to approve from Councilmember Young. Resolution RS 2021-752 by Toombs and Nash approves Amendment 1 of an agreement between the Metro government and the city of Brentwood to extend the term of the agreement for a period of 1 year. And then on page 4, bill number 2021-614, Toombs, Murphy, and Nash authorizes the Metro government to negotiate and accept permanent and temporary easements for the River Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for 4 properties located on River Drive. Bill number 2021-615 by Murphy and Nash accepts new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for 3 properties located at 7150 and 7154 Knowles Road and Knowles Road unnumbered in Williamson County. Does anyone see any need for that, anything to be taken off consent?
Chair Nash, I have Councilwoman Henderson. My hand is raised.
Okay.
I would like to pull 7. Oh, I apologize. Am I recognized, Chair Nash?
Yes, you're recognized.
I would like to pull 752 from consent, please, for some questions for staff, please.
Okay. 752. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Island?
Councilmember Henderson,
And Ms. Zeitlin, just to be clear, so this is for approval of a motion to approve the consent agenda?
yes.
Okay. Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Benedict,
Aye.
Bradford,
Aye.
Evans, aye. Gamble,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Hurt,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
O'Connell, Roten,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
11 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Ms. Island. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to second page, Resolution 2021-751. Approves Amendment 1 to the contract between Metro Public Works and BFI Waste Services, LLC, to extend the contract by 5 years, update the per ton charge of the municipal waste, and amend certain other parts of the contract. I have left this off just figuring there would be some questions about the extension of the contract. I know it was discussed a little bit at the Budget and Finance Committee. Is there someone here from Public Works who would like to outline this for us?
This is Sharon Smith from Public Works.
Ms. Sharon, you're recognized.
All right, thank you. So this contract, which is a 20-year contract, does allow for 2 potential 5-year extensions. At this point, we're looking to exercise that first 5-year extension and give us 5 more years on this contract. Part of the reason that we are wanting to do this and believe it's probably the best thing at the time is that the landfill that Metro's waste goes to. So our contract is with the transfer station, but that waste goes out of Davidson County to the Middle Point landfill in Rutherford County. And that is the closest landfill of any size to Nashville. And that landfill, as everybody has probably heard over the last few years, will slowly be filling up. And at that point, waste will be transported further, which likely means that there will be increased costs. So part of what we're wanting to do is to lock in for the next 5, for additional 5 years at a more reasonable rate for our, not just to ensure that we have a place to take our waste, but also that even if that landfill closes, this contract would require them to continue hauling to whatever landfill they chose to haul to at the rates in the contract. So it does give Nashville several more years of stability during a time that's going to have some uncertainty.
Thank you. I see a couple of hand raised. Council Lady Henderson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Nash. Ms. Smith, can you clarify BFI then? I know you were outlining kind of steps in the process from, like Red River picking up, then our transfer station, then it's hauled to the actual landfill itself. So is this the contract for the transfer station? So the receipt of the trash and then the transport of it to the landfill, is that correct?
Yes, it's for 3 things. 1, it's to take it at the transfer station. 2, it's to transport it to the landfill. And 3, it's also for the disposal at the landfill.
Okay, so receipt, processing, transport, and disposal. When we were speaking about some of the challenges for the city with the 4-day trash delivery and then the 5-day, and how many trucks in, how many trucks out, and how late the transfer station was open, and it wasn't open late enough, so trucks would have to. Can you, I know that we arrived at a new negotiation that has moved us to a 5-day system, and I appreciate staff's implementation of that, but it has remained unclear to me the transfer station piece of that. And by way of contract renegotiation, have we done anything to improve the kind of the hours that the transfer station is available to help us on the pickup in side of things, please?
So the transfer station piece was only a small piece of the overall problem. The biggest problem that we were in is that our contractor was picking up waste so late into the evening. And by going to 5 days, that has largely been resolved. There have been some times that they still are out there and having to address that. The contract, and there was a little bit of discussion about this, but part of the issue that we had was having them stay open later on Saturday. During that time, our contractor was routinely picking up waste on Saturday, which was not technically a collection day. And the contract did allow us to request that they stay open at least until 5 p.m. Fortunately, with going to the 5-day and the work that's been done to help our contractor get back into compliance, that has been resolved, and it shouldn't be an issue going forward. One thing I did mention yesterday at Budget and Finance is that during COVID, we have absolutely seen an increase in residential tonnage. And it'll be interesting to see after the pandemic and this really unusual time, passes, if there will be more of a shift of people going back into the office. So there were a couple things that were at play here, but we don't anticipate there being an issue. I will tell you that these folks are trying to be very flexible with us with stuff like this. It just got a little complicated when there was every single day trash was being picked up so late in the evening. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I hear you saying that with the 5-day pickup and those kind of front end matters addressed, the hours of the transfer station, particularly Saturday and otherwise, is kind of a moot point at this juncture. But you think we have, you know, assume with the growth of the city, a 20-year contract with 2 5-year extensions, as we grow, even with our 5-day, you all do not anticipate kind of pushing up on the contracted hours for the transfer station. I know, you know, my trash, I'm kind of at the end of the route, right? So, I mean, I really do kind of get picked up at the end of the workday. And sometimes I wonder, you know, are they going to the transfer station after that or going in the morning? So I hear you saying you're confident that the hours as contracted are good for now and through the 5-year life of this contract.
Yes, I think they are. And I will also mention that Public Works has the ability to go in, just like we're cleaning out convenience centers. We have the ability to go into the transfer station 24/7. So if there's an issue, we have the ability to go in. You know, that's not extended to our contractor, but if need be, we could assist them. So there is a lot of flexibility here within the contract. And I will say that you know, over the course of these, so we're almost to 19 years, it's only been this last year with the various problems and the pandemic and all of that it kind of got to be more of an issue. So yes, to answer your question, we do feel like things will be better or will continue to be good going forward. And if there's an issue, we also have the ability to haul in anytime.
Great. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Did that answer all your questions, Council Member Henderson?
Yes, sir. All set.
Okay, no. Council Member Allen, I see your hand. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder if Ms. Smith can also address how this contract extension dovetails with our solid waste, zero waste master plan, and to speak again to this group about how the new rate structure either incentivizes or doesn't us to move toward having less waste going to a landfill.
Absolutely, and that's a really great question because the original contract language had something that in the trash industry we call a put or pay system. So basically we had a threshold of waste that we were required to deliver. It was a threshold that Metro always achieved, but the problem with something like that is if you drop below that threshold, which was right at, I believe it was 125,000 tons, then you paid for those extra tons, even if you didn't take them to the transfer station. And the other issue that was sort of unfortunate was that as your tonnage decreased, your per ton rate increased. And so those were two things that were removed in this extension. You know, Nashville has been, you know, over the series of several mayors, been looking at ways to be a more sustainable city, and with Nashville's long-term zero waste plan being an important guideline for us going into the future, we anticipate having waste reduction and working harder to achieve serious waste reduction in the future. So being in a situation where you're potentially penalized for waste reduction is just, it was unfortunate. But once again, this is a very old contract, and we had no issues negotiating with our contractor to have those two items that were more of a penalty removed.
Great, thank you for clarifying that.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Ms. Smith and Council Lady Allen. Anyone else? I seeing none. We will have a vote on RS 2021-751 Ms. Seidlin, you want to conduct a roll call, please?
Councilmember Henderson,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Benedict, Bradford,
Aye.
Evans. Aye. Gamble,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Hurt,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
O'Connell, Roten,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
and Benedict. Okay, 10 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Ms. Seidlin. Since Member O'Connell isn't here at the moment, I would like to jump over the next two items and move on to Bill 2021-616. RS 21-616 abandons existing public water main and easement to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, pressure reducing valve, and easements for property located at Brick Church Lane, also known as Heartland North Phase 1 by Gamble, Murphy, and Nash. And I did receive an email earlier commenting that the Planning Commission's vote on that development had been overturned in court. And so at that point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Gamble.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that is correct. And there is currently not an approved concept plan for this development. And for that reason, I would motion that to defer this bill indefinitely.
We have a motion. We have a second.
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 Thank you. Motion and duly seconded. I see a hand up by Ms. Henderson. You're recognized.
Yes, Chair Nash, on our agenda resolutions, RS 2021-752, I had pulled from consent, and so I didn't know if we wanted to address that first before moving on to bills, or just wanted to bring that to your attention. It was Amendment 1 with Brentwood.
You're absolutely right, and we'll go back to that since we're already halfway through this, if you don't mind.
No worries. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I'm sorry. I thought it was withdrawn, and I thought we'd moved on. No worries.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Chair.
The fun of these meetings. Any other discussion in regard to this bill and being deferred indefinitely? Seeing none. Ms. Seidlin, would you mind doing the roll call, please?
Councilmember Henderson, Councilmember Henderson,
You were muted that time, Angie.
Aye.
Councilmember Allen,
Aye.
Benedict, Bradford,
Aye.
Evans. Aye. Gamble,
Aye.
Hall,
Aye.
Hurt,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
O'Connell, Roten,
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
10 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Ms. Island. And we back up to page number 2 again at the bottom. Resolution RS 2021-752 approves Amendment 1 to an agreement between the Metro government and the city of Brentwood to extend the term of the agreement for a period of 1 year by Toombs and Nash. I take it, Councilmember Henderson, you might want to have a question for Water?
I just have a question for staff. What is this agreement with the city of Brentwood, please?
Sure. This is Amanda Deaton-Moyer with Water, and I can answer that. This is a 1-year extension of a 20-year agreement to provide water to the city of Brentwood.
Okay, and Ms. Deaton-Moyer, why are we just extending it for 1 year? And what were the terms of the agreement over the last 20 years? Are we just buying ourselves some time to renegotiate another longer agreement? Can you speak to how this agreement works and how much water we provide, et cetera?
Yes, ma'am. So Brentwood approached us this year, knowing that this year is actually the year that it expires and that there would be some necessity to either update, cease, or change or revisit. And they approached us with some ideas to update it. And we looked at it and we've gone back and forth and we said, let's take some time to really look at it together and take this year to make sure that we bring you something that we're all comfortable with. And in particular, it needs to be updated. It hasn't been updated in 20 years. It contemplates really old infrastructure that's already been built, as well as a scale up of some of the usage. In particular, this actual agreement specifies the minimum usage that they will take from Metro Water, which is just under 25 million gallons monthly. And it also specifies the terms of which they will pay and the length of this agreement, and if there are any specific infrastructure upgrades, how those will be handled.
Okay, I appreciate you making me aware of that, and will you please keep me posted on those negotiations as we move into the next year? So I appreciate that we're just sort of using this as a bridge, but I would like to be apprised of this, please, as my district is adjacent to Brentwood.
Yes,
we work with the city of Brentwood on other things. Okay, thank you so much.
Chair, you're muted.
I see no other hands up as I look. So, Ms. Island, do you mind doing the roll call, please?
Councilmember Henderson?
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Benedict?
Aye.
Bradford?
Aye.
Evans? Aye. Campbell?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Hurt?
Aye.
Nash?
Aye.
O'Connell? Roten?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
11 in favor, 0 against.
Okay. And that brings us to bills on third readings. And on page 5, bill number 2021-597, Parker, Toombs, Murphy, Nash, Mendez, O'Connell, Welch, Van Rees, and Syracuse. Approves a participation agreement between Metro Public Works and Monroe Infrastructure, LLC, for the construction of public infrastructure in Phase 1A of River North. Council Member Parker, are you here?
Yes, I am, Chair. Thank you.
Here we go. You are recognized.
Wonderful. So I've got an amendment to this bill, if a committee member would be so kind as to move it.
Move the amendment.
Second.
Thank you all. So this amendment, it's the last item in your amendments packet, and it does two things. It reduces the lane width along River North Boulevard from 12 foot to, I think it's 11 foot, but effectively 10 foot due to some of the striping. This brings that street configuration more into line with NACTO standards, kind of the basic stuff that we know about, how to create safe, walkable urban communities. So I'm super appreciative of staff, of Devin Doyle, and of all the stakeholders involved with this project coming together and kind of working to make these final tweaks to the street layout. Additionally, it separates on, I believe it's Marine Drive, the bike and pedestrian infrastructure, which I think it was, with scooter traffic and bicycles and pedestrians and whatnot, I think it's having that landscape buffer between the pedestrian and cycle track, I think is a better configuration. And again, thanks to staff for working so hard on this and all the stakeholders for the meetings and whatnot that we had. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the amendment at this time.
Any questions, comments on the amendment? I am seeing none. Ms. Silent, can you do the roll call for the amendment?
Absolutely. Councilmember Henderson?
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Benedict?
Aye.
Bradford?
Aye.
Evans? Aye. Gamble?
Aye.
Hall?
Aye.
Hurt?
Aye.
Nash?
Aye.
O'Connell? Roten?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
11 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Ms. Zyland. That brings us back to bills on second reading. Bill number 2020-581, O'Connell, Rosenberg, Young, and
Chair?
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, let's vote. Let's vote on the whole bill. You're correct. Rushing off here. Let me back up, folks, to bill number 597. Any comments on the Council Lady Henderson? Do you have a comment on the bill as amended?
I do have some questions, Chair. I want to also thank Councilman Parker and just commend him for engaging with staff and the developers to make sure that we're building those streetscapes to better standards. So I appreciate that amendment. I did want to clarify the road miles that we are accepting and adopting for maintenance within this particular phase at this time. Is it correct that that is a half mile of roadway? Does anyone on staff wish to be recognized by the chair?
Councilmember Henderson, this is Jim Snyder, Public Works. And I think Devin Doyle is on the call. And so Devin, if you will, please answer that for the council member, please.
Yeah, I can do that. I was trying to raise my hand, but apparently I don't know how to raise my hand in WebEx, so my apologies. This is Devin Doyle, Public Works. Council Lady Henderson, I don't have the exact linear footage, but it is approximately 1 mile plus or minus. I mean, half a mile plus or minus.
Okay, and then do we know what we anticipate through the future phases of the development? Would you say that this amount of roadway is going to be comparable in all phases?
I believe that's yet to be determined, as the character of future phases of the River North UDO haven't been ironed out, so to speak. In other words, exactly what the road structure might look like, and whether there may be some private infrastructure that's integrated in with public infrastructure.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get at kind of cost and the math here when we enter into these participation agreements at varying percentages, and we adopt and accept this for maintenance in perpetuity. And then I guess if we have a half mile of roadway for paving, what do we have then in sidewalks that the city will have to maintain? Is that then a half mile, but then you have sidewalks on both sides of each street, so that's just one linear mile of sidewalk in this whole development? I'm just, the math is, I'm a little unclear on that. It seems to be low to my eye, but I could be in error.
So I can go back and look. There may be a little bit more than 1 mile. I mean, basically centerline miles include the entire roadway, since we have sidewalks on both sides. Yeah, I mean, your math is right. The linear footage of sidewalks would be twice that of the roadway itself, in addition to some sidewalks that are being constructed on Cowan Street. So I might get you, Council Lady Henderson, repeat the question exactly, so I can make sure that I get it answered and
right.
Maybe.
I guess I know that we're paying for $13.8 million of infrastructure. But we're going to pay for it, and then we're also going to adopt it and maintain it in perpetuity. So I'm just trying to understand, the implications for us as we, talk about these participation agreements and why the math works for the city. I appreciate that we're going to have a business improvement district that, I'm also interested to know how we're going to kind of hash out, what part of this maintenance of the public streetscape is included in the business improvement district's taxing structure. So I guess I'm just wanting to understand, Mr. Doyle, from your perspective, what all are we adopting and maintaining? Intersections, bikeway posts, road miles, like what is it that we're paying for, and what is it that we're taking on from the Public Works perspective? Councilmember
Henderson, this is Jim Snyder. And we'll get back with you with those actual links and so forth. I noticed that Mr. Sturban is on the call as well. He might be able to talk about the overall development and what that might look like. But we can certainly get those links for you, and Devin will do that. Mark may want to chime in and provide any additional information based on your questions. Thank you.
Mr. Sturban, you're recognized if you're online.
Yes.
We also have.
Thank
you. Go ahead.
The future design is still being discussed, so it's hard to answer the question today. But I guess maybe I think you can say. I'm sorry.
Mr. Sturban, we know it's costing us $13.8 million. And so, by way of water, curbs, I'm assuming there's some sort of itemized accounting, or are we just ballparking it and cutting a check?
Mr. Chair, this is Mike Jamison. If I could chime in for just a moment.
You're recognized, Mike.
Thank you so much, Chairman Nash and Council Lady Anderson. The last Budget and Finance Committee ended with the request that any remaining questions be submitted in writing so we could get detailed responses. We got 4 questions. The second question from Councilman Parker was essentially about the infrastructure and what would the cost of maintaining that be. I hope the council members received that. You'll see it did have the 1/2 center line mileage of roadway. Based on the average maintenance costs for roadways throughout Davidson County, the projected cost over a 10 to 12 year period is $40,000 over the entire 10 to 12 year period.
Yeah,
we'll actually be getting 20 million worth of infrastructure for the 13.7. That is the contribution from the developers of 1/3. The C bid is oriented to pay back the debt that would be from the bond resolution, which is a specific allocation allowed by state law for C bid revenues. So that will feed back the 13.7. And I hope that helps clarify slightly.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mike. I just, I heard the questions that were articulated and I received the information noon yesterday, but I guess I was just surprised to see, you only really were addressing the paving roadway miles. You indicated consumption of power for street lights and traffic signals, but, it's not just, we'll have signals and mast arms and those things will have to be maintained. And so I just assumed that there would be a detailed accounting of the $20 million of infrastructure, because we have spoken about this in the past, how we just have these buckets, whether that be for supporting infrastructure at the fairgrounds. Here, this seemed to be a much more precise negotiation. And that's why I was a little disappointed to see that there's not a more detailed accounting of the cost to the developer of all this particular infrastructure. How do we as a body and the citizens know that we're in fact getting a good deal for the money? I think that's what Councilman Parker and I were kind of speaking to previously when we discussed this in Budget and Public Works. Again, I'm not against infrastructure participation, but I don't, I saw the kind of the spreadsheet. I don't have that with me now, but I just was hoping for the public's edification, you could articulate a little bit more as to the cost, other than just, we're going to pave this every 10 to 12 years for $40,000. That just didn't seem to be particularly detailed for something of this magnitude.
Yeah, I think if you'll go to, I think it's labeled Exhibit B to the agreement. That's the itemization I think you were looking for. Public Works does have this to the penny. If that's, I likewise don't have it in front of me, but I'm pulling it up. I do believe it's Exhibit B. Yeah, there it is. It is Exhibit B to the participation agreement.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, I thought I did have that with me, so I'm just hoping someone on staff can articulate, intersection at this cost, sidewalks at this cost, bikeway, like if somebody could just articulate that for the public record, please.
Yeah, it's Exhibit B has everything from the demolition to erosion control, the concrete sites, the traffic signals, the signs, the NES participation, all of that itemized to the penny.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Jameson and Councilmember Henderson. Councilmember Parker, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question. I don't know if we have anyone from Monroe or if someone from the administration could speak to this, but in the summary packet that was sent out yesterday to council members, one of the listed benefits of this project is, quote, the developer has agreed to use labor participation on a portion of this project and has voluntarily committed to encourage minority contractor participation. I was just hoping that someone could elaborate on the degree of labor participation in this project, as well as sort of what that outreach to minority contractors is anticipated to look like.
Anyone from the administration?
Sure, Chair. Now, thank you so much for that. I will take a stab at what the portion references. So the entire development eventually will consist of well over 100 acres, near 150 acres. The portion that we're talking about, and why you hear the reference to a portion, is that the landing, so to speak, the only component that is the focus of the participation agreement is a slightly less than 40-acre portion, and the developers have, through independent discussions with minority contractor and labor leadership, agreed with the administration that they would be deploying those obligations. The participation agreements in Metro, they're not under the same code provisions that you're accustomed to seeing economic incentives with their specific requirements allowed. State law does inhibit our ability to mandate participation in these instances, but we've done our best to, through good faith agreements and understandings with the developers, to make sure that they do engage in minority participation as much as we can. That's my third-party observation. If there's any other representatives for the actual participants online, they may want to chime in.
Thank you, Mr. Jameson. Anyone else wanted to speak to that issue? I don't see any hands. Speak up if you don't have a hand. Going once, going twice. Mr. Snyder, I see your hand up. Did you have something? Hands down. Councilmember Henderson. Did you speak?
Thank you, Chair. So my question, I appreciate that we have added language to this bill about the business improvement district. And so I wanted to ask the administration by way of kind of negotiation and, precedent setting for kind of optimum organization of these and beginning as we intend to go, since this is a new development. And I know that there's some concern around whether, the Gulch Business Improvement District was really organized as well as it could have been. Who will kind of administer and coordinate those negotiations, and will that come to council? How will we know how that's being conducted, by whom and when in the coming years?
Chairman Nash, if I could be recognized.
You're recognized, Mr. Jameson.
Councilmember, forgive me, was part of your question about just sort of future participation agreements and how they would be negotiated?
No, sir, it was particular to this participation agreement and the language around a business improvement district to, kind of support the retirement of the debt and the ongoing maintenance of these, particular enhanced streetscape features. I understand that we're kind of doing that, prospectively out into the future, and that's not necessarily something we want to get fully in place until, there's more components of the project and various property owners and so forth. But I just, from an accountability perspective, I wanted to understand, how does the administration anticipate negotiating the business improvement district? Because as I've shared with colleagues, I think these are important, and our city needs to do more of them. And so from an accountability and transparency perspective, I want to understand, how do you anticipate, and what have your conversations around including this in this legislation? What's the understanding about kind of who will be at the table to figure out how we go about structuring the business improvement district, and how it works, particularly to public works, with the infrastructure costs to the city?
Understood. Thank you, and sorry for my misunderstanding. So we have a signed letter from Monroe committing to the implementation of a central business improvement district. As we've shared with some council members who've inquired previously, those are complicated proposals to put together. I believe the downtown central business improvement district took just shy of a year to put together because you have to do an assessment of the improvement. So you have to have a pretty solid idea of what improvements are in place, then do the valuation so you can calculate what the additional tax rate will be. So we don't have anything immediately to sign, but we do have, in terms of a CBID, but we do have the signed commitment from Monroe. We are, I believe we're on the verge of having an economic community development director retained in the mayor's office in the coming weeks. And I anticipate this will land on his or her plate as job one to execute within the coming year. I believe as long as it's in place within the 2-year estimated completion date of the improvements at issue in this participation agreement, we'll be way ahead of schedule. And as mentioned, state law allows the CBID revenues to be dedicated to previously incurred debt, the debt, for example, of the 13.7 going towards the 20 million in infrastructure improvements.
Okay, Mr. Davidson, I appreciate that. So what you're saying is that somebody else who has yet to be hired in the mayor's office, the administration, will be responsible for this? Or is this, with Mr. Sturdivant is over in planning in some capacity of, infrastructure management. I know he's been involved in this. I think I just want to understand for business improvement districts, how is that going to be administered out of the mayor's office? Is that going to be administered out of the planning department? How do we intend to do that? If that's not something you can articulate at this time, I want to be on the record of asking the administration to be transparent about that and use this potentially as a model about how we're going to do this going forward. And I don't know if you can speak to specifically who on staff. I mean, what I hear you saying is there's somebody that's going to be hired into the mayor's office and they're not here yet. And once they get here, they're going to negotiate this in the coming years.
No, I think if you look at previous implementation of business improvement districts and the renewals of them that occur roughly every 7 years, you'll see that it's a multi-pronged, multiplayer, albeit complicated process. So for the downtown CBID, for example, it's the mayor's office, it's the planning department, public works, Department of Finance, and usually a third party, a private party. In this instance, it's the downtown partnership, which oversees that as the administrator board. In this CBID for this location, there would have to be eventually created an administering board. That has not yet been done and can't yet be done until we have a greater sense of what the improvements are, the value, et cetera. In the meantime, the onus is on the mayor's office and on the developer, Monroe, which has signed the letter, and I believe you've got the copy, committing to the implementation of this. We just can't possibly do it now at this stage of development without knowing the precise value of the infrastructure.
Mr. Jameson, obviously I understand it can't be done now. What I'm trying to understand is with all the myriad folks in the mayor's office doing a wide variety of different things, Mr. Sturdivant over in the planning department, I'm just trying to understand who will be the lead on this and becoming an expert in making sure that we are doing these the best way we can to the benefit of the city. Are you telling me it's the ECD person that has yet to be hired, or are you saying that's Mr. Sturdivant? Is it Director Kemp in planning? Who is responsible for, in this administration, for expanding and kind of doing right by these business improvement districts, this one in particular and more broadly going forward? Who is that person?
Sure. For our purposes right now, it will be me. My guess is, because this will fall under economic and community development, when that director is retained, and I believe that will be within the coming weeks, it is almost certainly to fall on that person's shoulders just by nature of his job or her job description. In the interim, this falls upon me. I assure you there will be nothing committed to here without the participation agreement and without the CBID being an implemented and integral part of that.
Okay, and what is Mr. Sturdivant's role now currently vis-a-vis this project and more broadly infrastructure implementation and business improvement districts? Does he not have a role in that?
He does, absolutely. And Mark is overseeing essentially special projects, large-scale development projects. He has enormous expertise. I know he's online, so I don't want to make him blush if that's possible, and Mr. Sturdivant may want to comment himself. But yes, he has had an oversight role in this particular project.
Okay, as I hear it, it's still a little TBD on how this is going to be organized, but I would ask the administration please to keep us apprised on this, because I think we want to really be transparent about how we're organizing these to the benefit of the city. So with that, that's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. Councilmember Allen, you have something for us?
I just wanted to have, I guess we've covered most of how this is working, but again, for the viewing audience, perhaps Mr. Jameson could just very quickly run over how this was originally construed, what we've ended up with, and why, just to again summarize what we see as beneficial from this project.
Mr. Chair, if I'm recognized. So the council members should have in their inboxes what was hoped to be a one-pager summary of the history of this, but there was just a little bit more to it than originally meets the eye. This is the culmination of 14 separate items of legislation that have come across the council's desk. Now, sometimes at a distance, it's hard to see how that all takes shape, but in 2018, I think the council got a sense of sort of the cohesive nature of these parcels being assembled for collective development when it enacted the UDO that prevails over this. In October of 2018, the council approved a capital spending plan approving a $20 million expenditure for the infrastructure in this location. This project was inherited, if you will, by Mayor Cooper, and he understands the obligations that have been committed to by previous administrations and intends to honor them. But at his heart believes that this, in its essence, is a good thing for the public. Nevertheless, he negotiated some improvements to the deal, if you will, and requested that the development team pay at least half of what Metro was originally paying into this. So you'll see it's now 1/3, 2/3, $13.7 and $7.1 million split. There is, pursuant to the UDO and pursuant to the participation agreement, substantial amounts of open space, green space, a riverfront greenway, amenities dedicated for public uses, and with the addition of the seabed also requested through the mayor's agreements. The intent is that the primary users and beneficiaries of this infrastructure are those that eventually pay for it. That's it in a nutshell. You also are getting, sorry, one last thing I forgot to mention. You're getting about 9.5 acres of property from the developer for public uses, free of charge, so to speak. So that was not in the original $20 million deal, and we're grateful for that concession.
Thank you. I appreciate that summary. I just think it's important for us to make sure that even those who haven't had the benefit of reading the analysis that are watching can also be aware of that. So I appreciate that summary.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen and Mr. Jameson. Councilmember Roden.
Mr. Chair, I don't see anybody else in the queue. I was going to call the question if no one else is in the queue. We're taking a vote, but I'd like to call the question otherwise.
Okay. Anybody else in the queue? Seeing none, I think we can go ahead and vote. Ms. Seidlin?
Council members Henderson?
No.
Allen?
Aye.
Benedict?
Aye.
Bradford?
Aye.
Evans?
Aye.
Gamble?
Aye.
Hall?
No.
Hurt?
Aye.
Nash?
Aye.
O'Connell? Roten?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
9 in favor, 2 against.
Okay, back to page number 3 with our license plate reader technologies. If I might propose the following on these, I'd like to see all of there was so much new thrown at us this week. We really would like a chance to go through and discuss this more. I would like to get a motion, possibly as we get into this, for a deferral on everything till like the first meeting in April. And then my hope is that I can organize a special called meeting with public safety for council where we can kind of sit and have really time to hash through these differences and come up with a good final recommendation to the council.
Second. Well, Mr. Chairman, as one of the co-sponsors of 581, there should have been a letter that is requesting deferral to the second meeting of April. So
second meeting
if not, then I, as one of the co-sponsors, I'm willing to share that's the intent. And if that's the item we're on, I'm willing to make that motion.
Okay, let's start out with that item. And a second, that's bill number 2020-581 by O'Connell, Rosenberg, Young, and Sepulveda. Amends the Metro Code to permit the use of license plate scanner technology on or within law enforcement vehicles. And then we also have an amendment that will wait. Any further discussion on 581 and deferral till second meeting in April? I'm seeing council member Stiles. Any committee members first? Seeing none, you're recognized, council member Stiles.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to stand in agreement with you that these are deferred until April and give some more time for community conversation, engagement, and public hearing. I think that will behoove us in coming up with the best policy moving forward to implement this great tool. So thank you.
Thank you, council member Stiles. Council member Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a good suggestion and would request that if we can, that at least one of these meetings be set up to truly allow public input. I know that's hard, but I think that the acceptance will be, or at least the process will feel more open to people if we not only allow council members to discuss it, but possibly set up a forum where we can actually hear from the public. I just
That was certainly the intent of Councilmember Gamble's 3 meetings. Awesome.
Okay.
That she had, so I'm not sure that one or more 2 of the same thing would help, but we can discuss that. That's we got lots of time between now and April.
Her meeting may have been focused specifically on her drag racing bill, and now we've got 4 different flavors in front of us. So if that's just a suggestion, but thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Gamble.
Thank you. And to clarify, I don't have a drag racing bill. I don't have a bill, actually. I did just recently sign on to one of the substitutes, but I agree that there does need to be additional discussion, and that needs to be done at this point on the district level. So I encourage council members to have their own meetings in their districts with their constituents so that you can have that back and forth discussion. And I totally agree with the motion to postpone or defer these bills until that discussion can be had. My question about the second meeting in April, I do also agree with the idea of a public hearing. To Councilmember Allen's point, a public hearing will allow I guess a countywide discussion on this bill. Would the second meeting in April allow a public hearing at that meeting? And I guess that's a question for legal.
This is Hannah Zeitlin. So I guess what I would say to that is there's nothing inherently wrong with having a public hearing at a meeting that's not the first meeting of the month. The first meeting of the month is when we traditionally have zoning meetings. I think that the only issue could be potentially staff and whether we'd have the availability to have ITS and our staff conduct a public hearing at the second meeting of the month.
Ms. Island, is there anything that would prevent us from having a public hearing, say, on the first meeting in April, and that'd be the only action taken?
No, I think that you could do that. I think that you could have a public hearing the first meeting in April, and then with the understanding that it would be, deferred until the second meeting in April, or pass it on second and then discuss it again the second meeting in April, something like that.
Councilmember Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just submit for your consideration that a public hearing might more appropriately be attached to 582, which is the more comprehensive of the two bills. And I'm not sure, I don't know which is better, whether to do a public hearing during a council meeting or try to put together a separate meeting on WebEx that allows it, but just something for y'all to discuss and consider as a committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rosenberg. I think we need to throw both of them in the hopper for discussion for sure. And I'll work with our director and see when we can work out the best time.
Well, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, I can't necessarily speak on behalf of the other co-sponsors of 581, but my motion to defer does not include requesting a public hearing, and I would be opposed to that being part of a council meeting just because of the large public interest in this. So I just want to make that point that I don't know what that mechanism would be to have that, since I'm certainly not including that request in my motion.
Okay. Duly noted. Any other discussion on deferring till the second meeting in April? Council Member Allen.
This may just be a point of order. Can we get Hannah to walk us through again any limitations on the number of times this could be deferred, and if we are pushing the sponsors up against a limit that we just all need to be aware of?
This is Hannah Zeitlin. Sorry, I'm pulling up the deferral history of both 581, and then I'll pull up 582 as well. This is a bill that would be subject to the rule that basically if there's 3 deferrals, it's an indefinite deferral automatically by rule, and then a 4th deferral requires a withdrawal of the bill. It looks like this bill 581 has only been deferred once, and then
I think the same for 582.
Yeah, I was going to say probably so. Yes, this has also only been deferred once.
Great. I just wanted to make sure we were all aware of that. Okay, thank you. I support the
Council Member Rosenberg's your hand up again. Council Member Rosenberg.
Sorry, it's a leftover hand.
Oh, okay. I don't see any other hands up then for Ms. Steinle. Do you want to go ahead and take the vote on 581 for the deferral till the second of April?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I was late to arrive and I just got my hand up. I know I'm walking into this with the understanding that Councilmember Young has moved to defer to the second meeting in April. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay. I had a letter requesting to the first meeting in April. I understand there's some timing. To Councilmember Rosenberg's point that he just raised, BL 2020-582 is the more comprehensive of these two bills, whereas BL 2020-581, I feel like is frankly a more technical clarification to some concepts already there. There's a part of me that would prefer, I understand we could do one of two things. We could track these bills together, or we could let the comprehensive go first. I don't have strong feelings. I know that for other sponsors of 582, I'd like this conversation to play out in a way that is non-adversarial, right? So I want to have the timing be generally agreed upon by sponsors of, well, you know, the measures and proposed substitutes as much as possible. That's my only statement about that. And that was one reason why I had recommended the first meeting. So that's my only comment. If we want to proceed with the second meeting, no objection to it, but I wanted to put that on the table.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connell. Councilman Rosenberg.
Sorry, Councilman O'Connell, I thought I understood that it was the second meeting and I'd communicated that along. So my apologies. My thought had just been that 581 might be moot depending on what happened with 582.
That's right. And that's why I wanted to be clear, because I know we've got this bill, 582, a significant substitute to 582. Right. So I think probably the better move overall for the conversation is to allow this to be behind 582 in the schedule. So the second meeting is fine. I just wanted to make sure that anybody who was expecting these bills to track together understood why it might be reasonable for them not to.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Seeing none, Ms.
Chair, I have my hand raised.
I'm sorry.
Just for clarification, so it sounds like the motion is to defer 581 until first, second meeting in April. I'm not sure we clarified that. But are we doing the motion, is it for 581 and 582, or are we doing two separate motions? And did we clarify if the public hearing is held for both bills? I think there probably needs to be clarification on both, unless 581 is going to be deferred until the second meeting and 582 is deferred to the first meeting. If they're going to be deferred to the same meeting date, then I think we need to have them tracked together. So I guess we need more clarification on that.
At the moment, the motion is for the second meeting in April. I tend to think that they could track together. I think certainly as a council, if we meet as a joint committee and to discuss the whole issue of LPRs and try and sort through all the different amendments and proposals, we can discuss both at the time. I understand Council Member O'Connell's wanting to maybe track after. I can understand that one. I think I can also sing the other side of that song, that record, and have them kind of tracking together too. And so just so clarification on the motion. I guess all we're moving on right now is 581 going to the second meeting in April.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully we'll do the same thing with 582.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'm sorry, I'm looking for hands. Brother Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, I think you are a singer, so feel free to start singing that record. But I guess, I do see the logic in my colleague, Councilman O'Connell, and in this piece, being at a meeting one after the more comprehensive piece. And I guess I'm curious what the intent is of the sponsor of 580. Well, now I'm confusing it in my head, but the sponsor of the other one, just so we can hopefully be on the same page together.
Okay. Councilmember Johnston, you wish to speak to that?
Yes, I'm happy to. My original intent was to defer until the first meeting in April for a multitude of reasons. But I do think that 581 and 582 need to track together. And the only reason is because when I reached out to Director Cooper to find out if both passed, what happens? If one passes before the other, what does it mean? Specifically, he says both bills amend the same provisions in the code. So both bills should not pass on third reading. Theoretically, the last bill in time to pass would prevail if they are both brought for a vote on third reading. So if 581 passes and then 582 passes, 582 would negate 581 and vice versa. So I do think that it needs to be a comprehensive discussion between both bills. And I think that we all need, I love your idea. And I was going to suggest that to have a special called committee meeting to really discuss 581, 582, the amendments to both 581 and 582, and then both of the substitutes that have been offered for 582 so that we can understand exactly what everything does from the police's perspective, from Metro Legal's perspective. So, just to have it's a lot to digest. So I think we need time. And so if Councilman O'Connell wants to do the second meeting in April, I'm happy to do that. If he's okay with the first meeting in April, I'm happy to do that. My only concern about pushing it too far is that I am not going to have this discussion during budget. It's not fair to any of us to have this be discussed in May or certainly no part of June. So if we can't have second and third reading, anyway, I want to put that out there. I just think that the budget is way too important, and then this discussion is way too important for either one of them to detract from each other. And so that's kind of why I was hoping the first meeting in April, but it honestly, it's a difference in 2 weeks. It really doesn't matter. So I'm happy to do whatever, but that's my thought process on having them both track together, is because they are legally contradictory.
Councilman Young, does that answer your question? I think the answer is yes, she wants to defer.
Yeah, that was a long way around. Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Vercher. You have your hand up. Councilmember Vercher. Okay. So I think we're ready for a vote on 581, defer to the second meeting in April. Would you go ahead and do the roll call, please? Ms. Island.
Councilmember Henderson?
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Benedict? Bradford?
Aye.
Evans?
Aye.
Gamble?
Aye.
Hall?
Aye.
Hurt?
Aye.
Nash?
Aye.
O'Connell?
Aye.
Roten?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Is Benedict 11 in favor?
I'm here, Ms. Zeitlin. I voted in the affirmative.
Okay, 12 in favor, 0 against.
Okay, thank you, everybody. On to 582. I think we have some idea of what we're reading here. BL 2020-582 amends Metro Code laws pertaining to the use of license plate scanner LPR technology in the public rights of way. Ms. Johnston.
If someone could move it, because I'm not on the committee.
Can we get it?
Defer until the second meeting.
To defer to the second meeting in April.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Heard lots of motions and lots of seconds. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Great. Ms. Zeitlin?
No, Mr. Chair, sorry. I had my hand up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
my only point there is I appreciate Councilmember Johnson's legal analysis there, but I guess, the only reason I would say deferring to the first meeting in April rather than the second and tracking these would be to Councilmember Rosensberg's point is that if 5 pass as filed, it might these bills are kind of interdependent. I mean, it's fine to track them together. I guess we might find that we need to still take them out of order, just depending on how the substitutes are applied, whatever. So my only statement as a weak preference would be that 581 could follow the comprehensive discussion, and I don't think it would cause any problems even in the event of a special committee meeting. Now that we've already deferred it to the second meeting in April, I don't think there would be any harm to the overall discussion or legal proceedings to allow 582 to go to the first meeting in April. Just my weak preference.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. Anyone else? My little participant thing isn't rolling up and down, so I can't see. Anybody speak up? Okay, I think we're ready for the vote.
So what is the actual motion on the table now? To defer until
the second meeting in April.
Oh, all right, thank you.
Ms. Eidlin?
Councilmember Henderson?
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Benedict?
Aye.
Bradford?
Aye.
Evans? Aye. Campbell?
Aye.
Hall?
Aye.
Hurt?
Aye.
Nash?
Aye.
O'Connell?
Aye.
Roden?
Aye.
And Young?
Aye.
12 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, everyone. And a couple of us have to go to public safety. Have a good day. See you later.
All right. I'm also supposed to go to public safety, but I am supposed to stay here for traffic, parking, and transport.